best budget phone out this year.
CMF Phone 2 Pro. Search now on Flipkart.
Wins in their Super Fours openers for both India and Bangladesh. Bangladesh against Sri Lanka, India against Pakistan, which means now when they meet in Dubai on Wednesday, victory will put that side on the cusp of a place in the Asia Cup finals. Let's set up this contest on CMF by Nothing presents ESPN Cricinfo Timeout in the company of Aakash Chopra, who's now joined by Varun in our studios. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. The addition of a fast bowler to the cast automatically makes me want to ask a fast bowling question. Varun, Jasprit Bumrah's deployment in the early stages of the Asia Cup has intrigued many because we aren't accustomed to seeing Bumrah bowl in the power play. What have you made of this tactic?
I don't agree with it at all because you need Bumrah 2 up top. Obviously, he's going to get you those wickets in the power play. But then if something goes wrong, you have Bumrah in the middle and then at the death. Or you have two overs of Bumrah at the death. Teams are going to find it very difficult to get away playing Bumrah. That being said, now India have found a third seamer, a third seaming option with Dube bowling really well last game, getting 2 wickets, especially on those wickets where he is tall, he can bowl into the wicket really well. So now India have an option. It's going to be interesting to see how India are going to deploy Bumrah, especially after he didn't have the best game against Pakistan. Just an anomaly, doesn't really go for that many. But that being said, 2 of Bumrah at the start and then keep 2, either 1 in the middle and 1 at the back end or 2 at the back end.
Yeah, with that T20 World Cup lens that is applied on most games India play in the lead up, the question we're asking is, what could this be in preparation for? Are there any real scenarios where India foresee not using Bumrah overs at the death?
Wow, I mean, you'll need a telescope for that. Because, I mean, you actually wonder. There are 15 T20Is after the Asia Cup and before the T20 World Cup starts. So, you can't plan that far ahead in life for most things. And you play the conditions, you go ahead and try and win the tournament that you are playing, and it is not a bilateral series where you say, okay, I'll try something and then I'll see what happens next time, because who cares about the bilateral series, no disrespect meant, but still that's the way it is. This is a strange tactic. I agree with Varun that they're still wondering whether what do we do with our third pacer, but again, that's a flawed logic. I mean, you bowl 2 for him. There are enough people who can bowl in the power play overs. There is Akshar Patel, who is very competent. Now Varun Chakravarti also bowls with a relatively new ball in the power play. So, you've got at least 3 over of spin available to you. And then there is Hardik Pandya and Jasprit Bumrah. I mean, how many bowlers do you need? So, ideally, Bumrah should bowl only 2 and hold 2 of his overs for the latter half. If there is a partnership that develops, you deploy Bumrah. If that doesn't happen, you hold him back and then get him to bowl the 18th and the 20th if you're bowling first, or 17th or the 19th if you're defending. There is, I mean, I'm not on board with India's tactics of bowling 3 overs, and I can't even justify it with some kind of logic that they have an eye on the future. I don't see it that way.
Could it be a case, just wondering out loud almost, of wanting to park some death overs experience in the likes of Hardik and Dube?
I completely agree with Aakash, but you can't take a punt and you can't think too much about the future in a tournament like the Asia Cup. Because in a bilateral series, yes, you can play around with new ideas, you can move pieces of the puzzle around and try new ideas. But in a trophy like the Asia Cup, yes, nobody is really competing with India on the level we expected. That being said, 3 overs of Bumrah up top is quite ridiculous, if I may say that.
All right, let's turn our attention to the batting, and the spotlight is on Sanju Samson. You'd argue the spotlight is almost always on Sanju Samson, but in a new role, which we knew would come with its challenges, but which is also a role that doesn't tend to come with a long rope if you look at how Indian T20I setups work. Is Samson under the scanner already?
Everybody's under the scanner. In general, India's vice captain was under the scanner. People were asking questions, and rightly so, that this team plays a slightly different brand of cricket. Will he be able to complement Abhishek Sharma's bravado at the top, and will they go at the same speed? He has proved those critics wrong, and has silenced that conversation at least. So everybody's under the scanner, so make no mistake. But Sanju a bit more, of course, because he's out of his natural position where he has actually succeeded the most. That's bats 1, 2 or 3. And it's not limited to just international cricket. Even for his franchise in the IPL, he bats at 1, 2 or 3. Any time later, the numbers don't really add up as much, even when he's playing Kerala domestic league. So there also he started as number 5, 6, 7 wherever, didn't really do much. Then he moved himself up the order and then started smashing. So that is where Sanju has to be, but unfortunately that's not the case. While you're right that the rope is generally not very long, but when you move somebody from their perfect position, so to speak, then you're obliged to actually give him a longer rope. It's like one small thing comes to my mind is when Saurav Ganguly asked Virendra Sehwag to open. So the first thing he asked, Dadi, I'll open, but will I be dropped after this if I fail? He said, no, you won't be dropped. There is a place in the middle order. So we just want you to open and don't worry, your place is secure. I mean, that was Viru, that was Dadi. But then for Sanju also, you need to give him a slightly longer rope. I'm not going to judge him for that one innings where he couldn't time much against Pakistan. I mean, that can happen to anyone.
He has looked a bit scratchy in both his innings. He did get to bat at number 3 against Oman as well in an otherwise high scoring game. Why do you think he's looked scratchy? Is it just being unsettled and while he tries to move into what is now again a new position for him?
Any batsman batting out of position, it takes a bit of time for them to get used to it. Sanju is no exception, but we all know when Sanju comes good, he can run away with the game. Coming back to the point of Sanju Samson getting a long rope, I think with the way Gautam Gambhir has operated and Shubman Gill has operated together, if we just look at the case of Karun Nair getting 4 test matches out of 5 in England, I think anybody who is blooded into a new role will get a long rope. When I say a long rope, I mean a series, not more than that, and that's a really long rope in the context of the Indian team, because a lot of times people just get 2 games or a game and then they're dropped, but actually guys are getting a whole series. So when you have about 4, 5, 6 games to show what you're made of, you have to break bank.
I'll just add one thing. See, for an opener, getting a series is exactly the number of games that Varun mentioned. But for a lower order batter, getting a series is like getting 2 opportunities in this batting lineup. So for Sanju, it has to be X number of innings at that particular number. It might take actually longer than an Asia Cup. It might take the entirety of the tour to Australia, 5 T20Is there, a few in Asia Cup, and then you'll get to know, okay, we have given enough chances. He's made it, great. If he hasn't, then you move somewhere else.
The other thing is, in the context of India as a country, the amount of heat on Sanju from the outside, and when I say from the outside, I mean from the guys who are not part of this squad, is immense. The kind of names that are not part of this squad, there were so many questions. Why is Iyer not there in the squad? You know, so he's under a lot of pressure, not from his teammates and selectors, but just from the guys sitting out.
Correct. Let us move to Bangladesh now, for whom this is the start of what is a brutal 48-hour period. Less than 20 hours after they're done with India, they take against Pakistan. How do you see Bangladesh approaching this game, given the immediate turnaround for what is, let's face it, the game of higher consequence the next day?
Yeah, that's true actually, because see, you want to believe that you can beat India, but deep down you also know that you are the inferior of the two. I mean, nobody's going to admit it, yes, but everybody also knows the same. So when you know that this is not that is the place that you're starting from. So, I mean, Bangladesh, I think they'll have to come out all guns blazing. They'll have to come out believing that they can do to England what they did to Sri Lanka. They have a few bright sparks already in this tournament. They were on the cusp of complete elimination. From there to actually being here, if India is 1, they are 2 in the points table at this point in time, at the time of recording at least. And they have a tough schedule, 2 games back to back, first India, then Pakistan. If they can actually, because I generally feel that India lives in Bangladesh's heads rent-free. So the moment they are able to just vacate that space and they say, okay, fine, it may be a very good team, but we can beat them. Because often you see that they tend to capitulate, and from a position of strength as well from time to time. So, but it's a T20 game, so they'll have to obviously shrug everything aside and say, yes, beating Pakistan might be easier, but this is the game that we need to win. Otherwise, I mean, within 40 hours, playing another game in 44 degrees, that's not going to be easy for them.
Given the nature of this tournament and how the expectation and also what we've seen on the field has been that, okay, India are almost in a league of their own and the others, it's a little closer. Is it almost prudent for Bangladesh to enter damage control in a game like this? If it seems beyond you at a point, just start limiting the damage. Don't take that net run rate beating because there's a high chance that there might be a 2 or even 3-way tie in the Super Fours.
Look, as far as Bangladesh goes, if their back is to the wall, they have to come out swinging. There's no other way they can approach this contest, because with India, you're not going to rebuild and consolidate, because India's bowling attack has literally the answer to everything, especially in the middle. So if Bumrah gets a couple of wickets up top and then their middle order is exposed too early, the pressure is going to be intense. So I don't think Bangladesh are going to adopt a strategy where they're going to try to consolidate and try to play it safe. They have to go hard or go home.
All right. Thoughts on their selections? They went for Shariful Islam. They didn't play Rishad Hussain in the game against Sri Lanka. Do you see, is it the right bowling combination? What is their best bowling combination for India?
For the conditions that are prevailing at Dubai, I think Shariful Islam should make way for Rishad Hussain. Having said that, I mean, Rishad, the last time he bowled to India or played against India, Sanju Samson hit him for 5 sixes in an over. So that also has happened. So it all plays on your mind, right?
Yeah.
India was targeting 300 the last time these two teams met.
Almost got there.
And almost got there as well. So it was like a complete whitewash with complete domination. So those things are there. So there is probably a huge gulf between the two sides. But the best combination, because you asked, it has to be a spin heavy where you have Mehdi for left-handers. You've got Nasum, who can actually bowl whenever Abhishek is not there. And then Rishad, maybe conditions are slightly different than the ones the one that we saw at Hyderabad where he got hammered. So 3 spinners.
3 spinners, especially given how India's left-right will always be a cause for concern for spin bowlers.
I would say Nasum makes way for Rishad Hussain.
Okay.
Because with Gill and Abhishek, the only chance you have to get them out is in the first 2 overs. Where Pakistan actually went wrong was the first ball onwards. They went bouncer. The moment you give them a sniff at a boundary in the first 2 balls, they just keep going. I think you've got to move the ball up front. You've got to create chances with the new ball, because if you're going to be defensive in the power play, they're going to take you apart, those 2 guys.
All right, we will leave it there. Varun, Aakash, Chopra, thank you so much for your time. These fine men will be back just before toss time to build up to the game, so be sure to join us then. The head-to-head reads 16-1 to India in men's T20Is.
Best budget thrown out this year.
CMF Phone 2 Pro. Search now on Flipkart.